Hello and welcome to Positioning in under 10 minutes. Today, I will focus on where to stand in order to extend your life. When I'm playing Hunter, the biggest problems I see are allies' tunnel vision. Tunnel vision is the number one killers of teams. Just because you can shoot the monster doesn't mean you should. In fact, dealing half damage in exchange for a position is well worth it. Finding the balance between offense and defense is something that changes second to second, and it's something that takes considerable practice and experience. This tunnel vision often leads to players stacking up. If you don't look around, you don't realize where your entire team is about to be hit by a lightning strike. This could be a death sentence. That second or two of you holding back, even though you're avoiding dishing out damage, can save the entire game. Avoiding this splash damage is very important, especially when all you'll be getting is maybe a bar of armor. While in the dome, always take a few seconds to scout it out. Is there a spire that has just enough room for the monster to wrap around? Are there pillars you can use to climb up and down to piss off the monster as he focuses you? Are there caverns that the monster could use to isolate you from the rest of your team? Know the environment and use it to your advantage. Remember, you have 5 minutes of dome time, and letting it last longer is to your advantage. You win if the game times out, so there's nothing wrong with holding off for a few minutes. For enclosed areas, it can either be very dangerous or very beneficial. The monster can't dodge in it, but neither can you. This means firing from range to get small but safe damage is a very reliable way to whittle down the armor and force him into desperation. Make sure to spread out and cover his exits while he's in these enclosed areas, and wait for him to make the first mistake. Position yourself so the small areas limit the monster, not yourself, and when he exits, you're in a safer position to prevent him from focusing you as easily. The monster isn't always playing defensively. How you fight against him when he's going all out on you is very different. The shorter answer is, it depends on how you do this. It depends mostly on what your teammates are. You want to run so you can let them help you. That means if you have a Griffin, you're going to do your best to run away from Griffin. If you have a Hank, make sure Hank has line of sight on you so you can keep the shields up. If you have a Maggie, run past where she was in 5 seconds. This is a team game, and helping your teammates do their job will help you win the game. So what if the monster's landing all his skill shots on you? Even though Hank's blocking the damage, your health pool is still going down. It's a war of attrition, so how do you make the other side lose resources faster? Use the cliffs. Monsters can attack you while they're climbing, so if you force them to climb, you get a second or two of breathing room, which allows you to regenerate your jetpacks just a little bit more to avoid the next attack. Hopping between pillars using 1 or 2 boosts can give a massive amount of space. If the monster has already used his traversals to get to you before you switch posts, you just bought time to fully regenerate those used boosts. Before the dome even lands, recognizing these pillars and setting up on them can give you that little amount which will be the difference between you going down and the monster losing 2 or 3 bars of health. So in the background, what you see is a match I played a while ago against the Behemoth on my Vow. And the Behemoth is one of the strongest monsters for punishing and isolating hunters. So here what we do is we actually take advantage of his attempt to isolate us by holding outside the cave that he's fighting in. By doing this, we allow ourselves to stay safe and get that chip damage that I mentioned, while he's unable to regenerate his armor because he doesn't ever get that 2.5 seconds of safety. We do make a minor mistake on our support, where he goes in, but he does manage to hold the high ground and force the Behemoth to climb in order to get to him, which allows him enough time to back out and stay safe. Even though our assault does get hooked in, we're able to keep him alive because he's the only one in there, and the rest of us have good line of sight to punish the monster for it. So here you can see in the back, there is the support, who I mentioned getting out of position, and the assault moving in deep. Keeping us rotating in and out based on our health pool allows us to stay safe and stay at high health, while bringing the monster lower and lower until eventually he does lose enough health to kill the dome timer and escape. Again, even though he is in a very safe position relatively, we're able to punish him just by playing even safer. So now the dome goes down. He escapes. The only strikes that happened in this fight were on Daisy, which is a non-issue. The second set of footage is another game where I'm playing Vow. This time, however, we are against the Wraith. Wraith I know has a lot of good AoE abilities as well as things that fire a long line of sight, so I prioritize avoiding being hit by those. In this case, Note our spread and our use of the cliffs. We force traversals out on the monster by climbing the cliffs so that we have more time to dodge and mitigate his mobility. We also spread because the supernova is deadly, and even though one person may get out, having multiple people caught in the supernova can be very dangerous. Cabot and I split up. I stand on one end while Cabot stands on the other, with our assault and our trapper roughly in the middle. This will allow us to protect each other. With the defensive abilities of the trapper and the damage amp of Cabot, we can punish the monster heavily for focusing any specific character. This fight is an excellent example of us working together in order to keep each other alive. Anytime the monster decides to focus us, we make it extremely difficult for him to do so by punishing him heavily with the damage amp and the damage from the assault and trapper. After those two clips of showing what works, I've got two clips that show what doesn't. And these are huge mistakes made from being too focused on one specific topic. In this case, the trapper gets himself isolated by chasing after the monster, desperate for the first dome. This means he gets picked off very quickly, and because of Rogue Val's low healing, I'm unable to protect him. He wasted all his jets in order to get that dome, and lost his positioning in the same time. This mistake costs him his strike, and puts us at a lost dome fight overall. This dome itself is a very bad dome in general, but we make even more mistakes that punish us. One thing to be aware of is acid and water prevents you from placing deployables, and with Bucket that means his turrets can only be placed in very specific spots. In addition, it does damage over time while you stand in it, which puts you at even more risk against the monster. So right now, what we should be doing is focusing on getting damage in without putting ourselves at risk. Bucket's able to curve his shots, and I can shoot through this door based on the dome angle to make sure I can hit him. But instead Bucket walks in and he gets nailed immediately, putting himself at risk. Then he runs away from me, continuously getting out of range and out of line of sight to prevent me from healing him. This makes it very difficult to keep him alive, and very difficult for us as a team to protect him. Now that he's downed in a bad location, because he went in at a bad time, we're at a higher risk because now we have to fight around the acid, continuously taking damage. This fight, of course, goes very poorly, and the game ends with the monster toying with us rather than ending quickly. Thank you for joining me in this under 10-minute video. If you have any questions, just drop them in the comments. And remember, play safe.